Impermanent loss is one of those buzzwords in crypto. They get slung around, thrown everywhere, and overly demonized, I would say. It's one of those words that scares people from ever getting involved in decentralized finance, from ever starting their first liquidity pool, because they don't really understand what it is. They just know, ooh, it's bad. It's this scary thing. I don't quite get it, so I'm just not going to try. And that is the complete wrong attitude to have. And you need to understand what it is so you know how to navigate around it or just choose to accept the impermanent loss, guys. So right here, I have created Timmy. Timmy is running a liquidity pool of ETH USDC. And what I'm going to show you is exactly what impermanent loss is and how it affects you. It is sometimes a good thing for you, and I'm going to show you both situations. But first, before I can show you the impermanent loss and actually what it is, you need to understand really how a liquidity pool operates. So we have Timmy here. Timmy is running his first liquidity pool. And so if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably quite understand what the pool is. But if this is a good refresher, and if you don't understand what it is, this is a good teaching moment. Essentially, Timmy is running a stand where he is selling Ethereum and USDC for the either one. If someone comes up and they want to sell their Ethereum for USDC, Timmy takes that Ethereum and gives them the corresponding amount of USDC, right? Boom, done deal. The catch is that Timmy charges a fee. So when they do that, Timmy takes a little extra off the top that are his fees. Boop, takes a little bit of that, right? He takes a little bit out of their trade. And this is the profit that he's making facilitating the swaps. So then someone else comes along and they're like, okay, I want to buy some Ethereum from you, sir. And they give Timmy some USDC and he happily sends them some Ethereum, but not until after he's, of course, taken some fees. Timmy is just racking up little shares of Ethereum and USDC, taking a little bit off of the top. And this is the game. In certain pools, you'll see they have different fee tiers, and that's how much Timmy's charging. The more competition, the more other booths around, you have to have a lower fee tier, because if there's lots of competition, you need to undercut so you can get more and more volume. Because when it comes to these assets, the higher fee tier pool is not giving you a better asset. Sometimes it has better liquidity if you're a big player, but it's not really relevant for this conversation right now. So again, Timmy is selling the two assets, one for the other. No matter whether someone's trying to give USDC and get Ethereum, or if someone's trying to give Ethereum and get USDC. You need to understand this is how the market fundamentally works, right? Because when everyone and their mom is running and trying to FOMO into Ethereum as it's breaking through all-time highs, everyone's buying it. Keep in mind what's happening to your actual position. Everyone's buying all your Ethereum. So your portfolio starts to look something like this. At some point, you're cashed into all USDC. Why is that? Because people paid you insane amounts of USDC. They just keep paying you, they keep paying you, they keep paying you 4, 5. As you start heading towards the top of your range, people are buying all your USDCs, it's in high demand, and you start to run out of Ethereum because you're giving that to your customers. And eventually you get cashed out. This is important to understand. Now, I'm going to backspace. The opposite is true to the downside. In your liquidity pool, in your range, and fundamentally in the market, as people are selling out of their Ethereum because they're scared, the market is going down. Everyone's running for the hills. What are people fundamentally doing as the chart nukes downwards? Well, what people are doing is they're selling their Ethereum at all-time lows. So they're saying, hey, sir, I'm going to give you all my Ethereum. I'm going to give you, Jesus. So they're saying, hey, sir, I'm going to give you all my Ethereum because I'm scared, and you're giving away your USDC. So they're giving you Ethereum, and you're giving away USDC. You are buying up all the inventory of the people that are dumping their Ethereum onto the market, and you're paying them out USDC for it, right? And that's the game right there. It's important to understand how that works on both sides. You are essentially being the market maker. Remember, you are just becoming the exchange in cryptocurrency, in DeFi. What you're doing is you're taking inventory of all the assets, right? You're taking inventory of Ethereum and USDC in this case, and you're facilitating swaps. So if the market is nuking in fear, you get stuck holding the asset because everyone's selling their assets to you. They're all giving you a bunch of Ethereum, and you're giving away all your USDC, okay? Vice versa. When the market is pumping, you start literally selling all the Ethereum and taking their USDC. right? Because all the demand, everyone's coming in buying and you're the one selling. So they're taking your Ethereum and they're giving you USDC. Important to understand. Timmy, I think, is a good little visualization tool. And just keep in mind the whole time that those swaps are going on, you're up here just printing, 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 printing fees. And then over time, you start to build your own little bags of Ethereum and USDC for free. So now, impermanent loss. What is it? Why does everyone make it seem so scary? What is it really? Well, this chart right here is a good example. Okay, so impermanent loss. Impermanent loss essentially is just the difference between holding a spot position and then running your liquidity pool, the position value. So essentially, impermanent loss is literally the difference between this orange line and the blue line in both directions. There's an impermanent gain down here. Let me explain this further. Holding spot. If someone was holding just ETH, this guy's just a little hodler right here. He's just hodling along. He's nice and happy holding Ethereum. All of his Ethereum rises linearly. Linearly, it all rises to the upside because his ratio is not changing. He's not selling any ETH. He's not laddering out. He's just holding. So at a current snapshot in time, around right here, this orange line is at a greater value. And the reason is because remember, this guy, as the market pumps, starts accumulating more USDC and selling his Ethereum. So he ends up with less Ethereum over time. So that value in return in terms of appreciation starts to diminish. Now, the opposite is true to the downside, right? There is this impermanent loss down here is an impermanent gain because this blue line is losing money slower. Your LP position is losing money at a slower rate. Now, why is that? Because this guy is a ETH maxi. And so if the market moves down, his portfolio gets nuked. Whereas this guy, well, first off, he started off with a large inventory of USDC. So his value goes down at a much slower rate because a lot of his his portfolio is made up of cash that does not move in price. That's why he gets less upside in appreciation, but he also gets less downside. And then slowly but surely, as the market's nuking, well, everyone's panic selling their bags. So someone like him is going to get scared and they're going to start selling their Ethereum to this guy. And this guy is going to buy it for USDC. So he's going to pay some USDC out and he's going to slowly DCA into more Ethereum. Pay some USDC out, more Ethereum. Pay some USDC out, more Ethereum. So eventually, he starts to lose money a lot faster as well because eventually, depending on your range, whether you're full range or in a concentrated pool, you start to become 100% exposed because you've given all your USDC and you've received a shit ton of Ethereum, right? And then at this point, you're just like this guy, except you got a fuck ton more and you made a bunch of fees all along too, and you just become, this is what Coinbase does. Coinbase does not give a fuck whether or not short-term Ethereum is going up in price or down in price. This guy's just stuck here weathering the storm. He's like, man, really hope I fucking make money. Really hope I make money this year. I really hope we get an all-time high on Ethereum. This guy's up here all day, every day, just making money. That's what Coinbase is doing. It's what your exchange is doing. Gemini, Crypto.com, whatever they may be, this is what they want. They want to just make the money. And I'm showing you guys in DeFi and liquidity pools how to make the money. And permanent loss should not be something that scares you. It should be something that you are knowledgeable of. Because again, a move to the downside, Coinbase is losing less money than someone that just holds this. Because one, they had all that USDC paired, right? That slows their loss to the downside, but they also are generating a crap ton in fees, which offsets their loss. They're a business, and that's the whole point. You start to become a business, and your inventory goes up in value over time, and eventually, hopefully you have good ranges set, maybe around like the all-time high or something, and you start to get sold out, and you end up just looking like this guy, and then boom, you're holding all USDC. Because the whole goal is you're starting good ranges, buying at good prices. You might start with a good mix. You might start with a lot of Ethereum. And then at some point, you get cashed out into USDC. And then you move on. And then you take all your profits and you start your next business. You start your next pool. Or you wait for a dip. You lend these out and earn, 5, 10% a year in interest while you wait for a dip and you start all over again. And you start down here. And you fucking rinse and you repeat. And this whole time, you're able to use all these to buy the assets that you truly want. You can use this you trade all these in right here, right? And use it to buy a couple more Ethereum on the way, or some Bitcoin, or whatever it may be. And you start to use all those fees to just start stacking more ETH, right? Or stacking more stables for when the market dips. This is not your enemy. It's just something to be aware of. And if you're someone that's using my strategies to avoid impermanent loss completely, where you're doing something like this, where you're taking your big bag of Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever it may be, right? This is your big bag, your collateral right here. Let's say, just for easy numbers, let's just say you had 100K, right? This is your collateral. You lend it out, and then you're borrowing USDC. Make this boy big right here. All right. And then you're borrowing USDC, and using that USDC, let's say you take a 50K loan out. Say this is Bitcoin or Ethereum, take a 50K loan out at like 4% interest right now. 50K at 4%. And then you're taking this USDC and you're moving it to assets that you can monetize and win for sure, whether that's ETH USDC, or maybe it's a link pool, Chainlink pool, Bitcoin pool, Solana pool, Sui pool, literally whatever it is that you already own, even if it's a fucking filthy meme, right? If you're doing memes, I would not use your equity in coins you already own, but you're taking equity out of the coins you already own and you still own, and they will appreciate just like the yellow line. They will appreciate maximally over time, full appreciation. And then you take this borrowed equity and you fracture this into a business opportunity that can make you, oftentimes between 8 to 12% a month is all I'm aiming for. You can find stuff that does more. You can find stuff that does less. I have other pools that do less, shooting for modest, only 60% a year. Oh no, not making enough money. Not making enough money. It's 60% a year, right? And then you're making 8 to 12% a month in fees, and you are getting both lines now. You're doing even better than the yellow because you went from 100K to 150K active capital, costing you 4% on that other 50K. So you literally have both lines active. But that 50K doesn't rely on the market to pump to make money, because on this yellow line, you only make money when the market goes up. And the key, the nail in the coffin for impermanent loss, is the fact that you're earning fees in this. You're making money every day. The impermanent loss is only justified if you actually sell, let's just say, right here. If you actually sold Ethereum at the all-time high at $5,000 or whatever, then you actually capitalized on this right here, this little price differential. If you did not sell and you rode the asset back down, your impermanent loss gets smaller and shrinks to the point to where it no longer even exists. And then you start winning in the pool outside of fees even, just because it's losing less capital. If you bought the all-time high of Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, and you rode that shit down negative, you should have opened a pool. You'd be down a lot less. You would have this impermanent gain to where, again, you're still losing money in terms of value, but you're losing less. And then either direction, or if we even just stay sideways right here in the freaking middle, you're printing 8 to 12% a month. This is the only way I see that you can most effectively run a DeFi portfolio. I mean, when I'm showing you this, I don't even think hodling is the right answer sometimes. For Bitcoin, yeah, you hodl, but you're leaving so much on the table just by, I would say, for some of you, maybe being a little lazy or scared or fearful when you need to just get started and run this like a business. If you don't want to be a business owner, if you don't want to be a business operator, then this isn't for you. If you don't want to run this stand, which mind you, you don't need a fucking employee to sit here, you put your capital there and the smart contract's doing all the work for you. Literally passive income. Nothing's truly passive, but it's passive income. And you're taking all those fees that were generated and you use that. I don't know if I still have that on my clipboard, let's see. And you use all those fees. No, I don't. You use all these fees that get generated all over here, right? Remember all these fees we're generating off that 0.3%? You multiply that by all the volume coming through each and every day. And it's 8 to 12% a month that you're making. You use this. And you freaking create this giant flywheel that gives you all the freedom you could ever want in the world, because you literally use all these fees to just buy more Ethereum. So when the market is pumping, then boom, you catch all that hard appreciation. Ethereum hits that all-time high. Your pools are out of range. You're already stacked up in cash looking like this. Top G, fucking rinsing, making money. And then this big bag right here is also doubled in value, you could say. Let's just say it's 200K now, and you could sell some of that, pay off the loan. Now you have this for free, no loans open anymore, and you wait for the market to start to fall back down, and then you just rinse, repeat the cycle all over again. And you could sell that whole 200K if you wanted to, right? But the game is infinite. The game is infinite. Hopefully, this visualization makes things significantly easier than they've ever been for you to understand, right? I'm explaining a bit about the pools, the flywheel process, and just the impermanent loss itself, because this is demonized, and some people don't know it. It's good to know and understand, because this is why you don't want tight ranges, right? Because you don't want the market to move 4% and you immediately go from this guy with a bunch of ETH to no ETH and a 4% move. You don't want a tight range. You want a nice wide range so you slowly sell out over time to a price that you'd probably be needing to take some profits anyways, right? And you're not overly worried about getting out early because you have all this Ethereum as collateral in the back end anyways. If you're running my perfect strategies that will make you the most money over the long term. Boys, hopefully this is making sense. Drop a comment if it's not, if this is confusing and you even want to work one-on-one with me, if this has opened a new door for you and you finally get it after not getting it for forever, watching other YouTube channels, whatever it is. I make things make sense more than any other YouTuber, I feel like. I simplify it, I put it in a real world scenario where you are running a business and you're treating this like a store. You're using equity in your portfolio just like a real estate investor would. I make it make sense to everyone, whether you're someone that has 10, 20, 30 grand to your name, or if you're $1 million investor who's liquidating real estate, wants to get into crypto and DeFi. I help these people too. I have so many reps teaching everyone how to make it make sense. I mean, literally this is from a lesson inside our freaking community. 140 members. I have 140 reps with people one-on-one and in group settings of teaching this and getting success with everyone inside our community. But you have to be willing to take the work. If you want to work one-on-one with me and get inside my private community, click the link in the description down below. We'll book a call. We'll see if you're a good fit, and we'll get you started creating a system that makes you that 8 to 12% every month and using the equity off the capital you already own. And I don't need you to buy other assets. You can do this off almost any asset you already own. I hate telling people what to buy. I take a look at your portfolio, your goals, exactly what you want to do, and we tailor fit that strategy and game plan to you to actually see the results, not just sitting here hoping for a moonshot to hit and hoping you sell at the all-time high and don't get too greedy and then end up not selling. So guys, if you want real results off the portfolio that you already own it. You already have all the risk. You've taken all the risk already on holding these assets. Monetize, make money every day, and see your dreams come true. Click that link in the description down below, and I'll see you in the next video.